And good afternoon. It is Wednesday, January 29th, just after 1:30 p.m. And I guess, Frank Prozis, this is Happy New Year because I think we took the last couple of weeks off and this is our first conversation of the year.
There we go. There we go.
Look
Well,
at
Happy
that.
New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody else.
And as I get my bearings back under me after the holidays and the new year, there was 5 Wednesdays, I think, this month of the sorts. And I did miss a conversation with the city manager, and the city manager will be joining us in February on the third Wednesday at 11 a.m. And we'll get everybody back on schedule, but always on schedule, just like she tells her students, and always in attendance is Newport School Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain.
Hello, and Happy New Year to everyone. It's good to see
That
you.
was quite the introduction.
Didn't even write it down. How was that, huh?
And he linked it into attendance. I love it.
Yes, and well, it's funny because I had emailed the city manager earlier this week saying, "Oh, shoot," and we both realized that there were 5 Wednesdays, and we don't account for when there's 5 Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. So with the superintendent, it's just the last Wednesday of every month.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it works.
There we are.
Yep.
Well, I'll let you two get right to it because I'm sure there's nothing to talk about. So just flag me in if there's something to chat about.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
I'm going to start with the easy one, the softball, if you will, and that's an update on Rogers.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. The electricity, we have power. The power got put on yesterday. So we have power now in the brand new high school. And the outside work, as far as starting the landscaping, as far as, water retention ponds and everything else, we've actually on Wickham Avenue, we're starting that work. The interior is coming along very quickly. It looks great. Rogers High School teachers now have all their moving boxes. So they're starting to pack up, put their things together. Wow. And in early June, we're putting a calendar together so that we can start moving their things over for them and getting them up in their closets and locations. And we're hoping, our goal with Director Robert Young is to have all the things moved over, especially their supplies, their books, all those kind of things, have those over within 2 weeks after we get handed the keys. So that will be around June 15th. And then he also wants to start running the technology. He wants to make sure we're going to go through the construction tech, fans, the filters. We just want to make sure everything's working and get any kinks addressed immediately before the teachers even go home for the summer. So all of that is being put into place, and we're just so excited. This morning we heard the electricity got put on yesterday, so we're good. We're on schedule, and we're moving forward. We're also moving very quickly and on forward for the NACTEC building. I think the last time we saw each other, Frank, at that point in time, I don't know if the new school committee had voted, but they had asked our designer, our architect, our everyone else, construction people, they asked them to please take a look and see if we can change the plans and keep the career tech building to make sure we preserve programs, the cosmetology and automotive. And then at the same time, we'll move the administration offices over there. And then we'll also maybe have some room for exploratory CTE programming. I know Bob Power ran on that, and I know Beth Cullen, both of them are really focused on career tech education. So we're trying to make sure we can make that a reality. We have the drawings. Gil Bain, yesterday we had a meeting. We had the whole city, and thank you to the city manager, but the water department, Rob Schultz, he's a hero. He came in, he helped us with some design work, and Gil Bain is going to get that drawing out so we can, and even as early as today, they're having discussions with vendors and kind of trying to get some pricing around all that. So PAR, SLAM, everyone's coming together to see if we can keep this building going forward. And that way our children can all stay on campus for their programming. So has anybody
come up? I'm assuming there are going to be some renovations. Has anybody come up with a ballpark on what it will cost?
No, that's exactly what the work that's underway at this moment. We're getting it out, and Alita Hall, the construction manager for Gilbane, is trying her hardest to get it to us no later than February 14th, because we have to make a decision on or before, or as close to March 1st to make it, whether we'll keep it or not, to keep the project on schedule and on time so that students will be entering the new building in September of 2025.
I guess some of the questions are, do you have to go out for another bond? That will depend upon cost, I would guess. And also whether or not you go to RIDE for certainly some funding out of RIDE relative to any renovations.
So what we're doing is, and we have to have a further discussion with our owner's project manager, Joe DeSanti, Deborah Redding. They've both been so great, but we're having a discussion with them because I think what actually we may be doing is we're amending our school building project, because we want to make sure and ensure that we get as much reimbursement as possible for this. And that is why next week we're going to be having a finance in-house discussion on this to see where we are, hard numbers, as far as what are the possibilities, what could we afford. There is no discussion, absolutely none, about going out to bond again or going for more funding outside of the project cost right now.
Like many school departments, I presume you have a capital fund. Would work come under that fund?
We have some limited, but I think with our contingencies, looking at the help we have already received from the city council, which we appreciate greatly, and Jim Nolan, the city finance director over there at City Hall, I think we're okay right now, and we're hopeful going forward. So we'll see what unfolds next Wednesday, but we're still on time. Keys are going to be handed to us the first week of June, and students are going to be entering the new Rogers High School in September of 25. The excitement is growing. The students are literally in awe when they go through the building. It's just something great to see. It really, when you see how the young people react, it makes everything worthwhile. And on today's tour, we had City Manager Colleen Kennedy and Mike Carullo, the deputy. They came and walked the building with us today as well. So we're trying to get everyone in to see the progress and to see where we are. And in the coming weeks, we'll have some people from the elementary and secondary board come down. I just received an email right before this broadcast that we have a few people that like to come down and take a look at it. So we're trying to set up a visit for them.
At some point, where will there be an opportunity for members of the public to come and tour the new building?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. You know, it's the public, it's our citizens, taxpayers, voters that enabled us to do this. I would imagine, I'm not sure, we haven't set a timeline or a date for that. I would think that may be in early August or late August. That is still under discussion. And we haven't thought about the ribbon cutting date yet either. But to your point, I think these are things we're going to have to start thinking about.
I want to shift gears a little bit. Last night, I believe you had a virtual town meeting.
I did. I had a town meeting. We didn't have a great attendance. I know it's recorded, and I'm telling myself, okay, well, people are going to go back and look at it. But yes, we did have one last night, and it was the mid-year update. Believe it or not, we're already halfway through this school year. So it's just where we are right now, and just, sharing with the public what's going on and how we're going to be moving forward.
The highlights from that meeting?
Oh, there's lots of highlights. Okay, so one of the things we did was we looked at the attendance for our schools. The good news is that in every single school, every single day, our attendance has improved from the previous year. So that's the good news. The other challenge about that, though, is we're still very low on the leaderboard. We're still over, we're in the 200s as far as we are statewide, as far as schools and their attendance records. So that's something we still have to. The good news is we're improving every day. We're better than we were a year ago. And now we just need to kind of really bump ourselves up. The other thing about the attendance was I did show difference in RICAS scores. Those that aren't in school on a regular basis, and those that are in school on a regular basis, their RICAS achievement scores are double those that are not attending school. Go ahead.
So I looked at the attendance tracker, and so it looks to me, and maybe this is typical, that attendance at the high school and at the middle school, and especially at Pell, from the beginning of the year had dropped. In September 4th, attendance rate at Rogers was 92%, and on January 29th, 84%. At Thompson, it was 96% on September 4, and 93.9%. Not a big drop on January 29. And over at Pell, it went from 96.1 to 89.4. Now, my question is, I don't think it's alarming. Is that typically what happens over the course of the year?
So the comparisons that we read every day, that your data is correct. The comparisons we're looking at is a year ago on the same date. Are we the same? Are we improving? Are we better than we were? And the answer is we're better than we were a year ago. Is that typical? After usually what happens around October, late October, we start to see a shift and we start losing, the attendance doesn't stay as high as we would like it. We also see patterns of right before a vacation date, we'll see a drop in attendance. We'll see quite a few families maybe take off early or return later than the vacation time. In January, we do see the stats you're reading, I'm going to say for Newport, they are typical, but as I've said before, they need to improve. They need to get better. And that is why showing data and making parents aware and families aware, if you're not in school, you're not going to learn and your achievement levels are not going to be where they should be. So that's why it's so important. But I'd say those are typical. We need them better though.
Here's another observation, which I don't think means anything at all, but I'll throw it out anyway. So I looked at attendance. Enrollment at the beginning of the year at all three schools. Rogers is down 10 students from 644. Thompson is down 7 students from 500. And Pell is up 9 students from 653. Does that mean anything?
We have, and for the public, we have a lot of mobility. And what that means, it is not unusual when our school committee receives the monthly reports, they're going to see a large number. And by a large number, I mean maybe over 20 or over 30 students either come into the district, leave the district. And that is not unusual for us. But the trending is, as it is nationwide and statewide, we have a declining enrollment, and it is continuing to go down. And our latest enrollment projections are showing that as well. So that is why I think we need to come back to the table about regionalization, and we need to start having thoughtful conversations about how we can move forward, because with the models, I'll just speak from what I'm seeing in the populations in the other districts, we probably on the total Aquidneck Island in public schools, I think you have about 6,500, 7,000 children. And when you think about that, that's the population of most likely a typical school district you can have. So those are some of the things I think people need to talk about, because it's going to be very difficult to sustain the models we have. And the way schools are funded, public school education, the way it's funded, how it's funded, the process, it's broken. There's no other industry that I know of in private business other than government that you find out your budget for a 40 million, 60 million, 80 million, and in Providence case, almost $200 million organization. You find out your budget a week before your new fiscal year. So I think it's a discussion that I think people really need to have the political will to start at least the discussion to see if there are some ways we can fund public education better and know more in advance of when our new school year starts. Because when you think about it, we're going into layoffs. We're going to have layoffs here in Newport, and I imagine many other districts are as well, because of declining enrollment, because of the challenging financials going forward for most communities. And now's the time we put a lot of stress and emotional strain on all of us, our staff, our families, the not knowing who's going to still be here next year. And we won't know until we know the final numbers for our budget. I don't want to be doing this today, but a lot to look forward to.
But there's some really interesting questions that arise from all of that. I took a look at a comparison of student enrollment in 2004 with student enrollment in 2024. There's only one school district in Rhode Island where you actually had a gain, and that was by about 1%, and that was East Greenwich. You had some that had lost nearly 50%, 45%. South Kingstown, Narragansett, and Westerly, all over 40% drop in enrollment over that period of time. The person who I talked to about it is an architect who was involved in the Westerly School Building Program. His speculation is it had a lot to do with affordable housing. I'm not sure if that's the only answer, but I'm sure that's part of it. But I wonder if, in fact, some of that is a loss of students to charter schools and to other non-typical public schools, although charter schools are public schools.
I'm not sure about that, because I think if you took the state of Rhode Island overall, and I don't know if you did that comparison, I think you're going to see fewer students total, whether they're in charter or in public. I do think that affordable housing does play an impact on where students or families can live. And that can be very challenging. And in a community like East Greenwich, which is probably one of our higher socioeconomic communities, they're not going to feel the pinch as much as districts that I'll say have a lower socioeconomic status. And it's very typical, as we've had discussions before, especially when you look at the RICAS scores. All you have to do is look at the poverty levels, because poverty does matter. If you look at the poverty levels in a community, and then you look at the RICAS scores and rankings, all you have to do is flip that RICAS and it will match up to the socioeconomics. You just turn it upside down. So
one of the things I also saw, I mean, we have, even though our population is slightly higher than it had been, our 18 and under population statewide, I think it was in kids count, it was either we had lost 6 to 8% of kids in that age group. Those are the kids in school. Mm-hmm. So we have a declining young population.
We have a declining young population, and the birth rates are down. You know, I know over here on Aquinic Island, birth rates are down. So, and that wasn't new news when we were, looking into just the building project. That was data and everything we had to look at. And we even, as a community, we thought we should have gotten more funding, because our experience, which everyone is familiar with, when Pell opened, you build it and they will come. And we didn't have enough room for everyone. So the wonder is, when Rogers opens, what's going to happen then when the new building opens? And will we see a bubble or a peak as we did when we saw Pell. So there is a nervousness in some ways, but the building is scheduled for 700. I think it's 770. I got to tell you, I haven't looked at that number in a while. And right now, Rogers, I think we'll be okay, but we'll also look at our CTE programming, see what happens there.
You mentioned regionalization. Are we talking with Middletown?
I hear rumors. I am not involved, but I do hear rumors. And I have to say, I sense there's on both sides, Middletown and Newport, I think there's some willingness to look at that again. But I have not been involved in anything. I do believe there have been some meetings, but I haven't been involved.
Just Middletown and Newport, or is Portsmouth involved, or do you know that?
I don't know. Again, I haven't been involved.
Yeah, and I'll ask you more speculation.
Okay.
New Rogers High School, you have the school building project in Middletown. When all is said and done, is if everybody decides to come together, what do you do with all those schools?
I think you have a conversation with RIDE, and I think RIDE would be more than happy to see us regionalize. And believe me, I think they'll see that as a win, and they'll do everything they can to support our efforts.
Let me move on to another subject. Well, I want to go to an easy subject. Just I was taking a look at the strategic plan. I'm wondering how you're doing with the goals for 24-25.
We're doing well with our strategic plan. We do monthly reports. Our focus is on we're on a rigorous curriculum. We're looking at attendance. We do classroom visits. We've done, I'd say at this point in time with the administrator, and for this year, for administrators, this office, we're doing classroom visits more and more to really see what's going on in the classrooms, to be able to support the teachers and make sure under the direction of Director Patty All, working with the teachers and the principals, we take the Vision of Excellence tool and we look at that student participation in teacher classroom to see how it's doing. And we're trying to calibrate what quality education, quality instruction, quality learning looks like. So we are we're right on track. I think we have over 400 observations so far, if not more. And we'll keep moving it, we'll keep moving down the year and doing those checkpoints. The most important thing is, as you saw or people have seen with our school report cards, and I did go through this in the town hall, and the town hall was recorded. When you look at the school report cards, you'll see that there are several factors in which the report card is based. And the report card actually falls and defaults to the lowest star score. So looking at English language proficiency, looking at school quality and student success, achievement and growth, those kind of things. If you looked at, for instance, Pell Elementary School, they had, for their English language proficiency, they earned 2 points, which is 4 stars. For the school quality and student achievement, they had 10 points, and that's 4 stars. But the one area all of our schools need to work on is achievement and growth. And that goes to the instruction and the learning with our students. So that's why we're so heavily focused on the curriculum. Rogers was at 2 stars, and Pell and Thompson were at 1 star as far as achievement and growth. So we've got a lot of work, and that's why I am so happy that the strategic plan is right on target, and some of the moves we've already made as far as making sure we have certified teachers in the classrooms. We have our reading teachers with all our students now, hoping that those kind of structures and classroom instruction will help our students be more successful, and at the same time provide less interruptions for our teachers for instruction. So that's kind of where we're going. Strategic plan is right on target, and we do, as a matter of fact, we have a date. It's yesterday was the end of the first semester. Next Tuesday, we all do a data review and we look at where we are, even though we've been doing it on a monthly basis, and we look at the metrics we set and see where we are with those metrics. So we got our work cut out for us.
I believe that you're meeting with the with local legislators on the weekend.
Oh, we are. We're looking forward to that. On Saturday at the NACTEC building, bring your coffee. We may have some there, but I always bring my own coffee. 9 o'clock, we will be meeting with our state legislators. And there is an agenda out, and we'll be looking at various topics. I know I asked and requested about public school funding. I think other things are on there, career and tech. So there's a variety of different agenda items. The building project, I think that's on there. But we encourage everyone and anyone to come this Saturday, February 1st, 9 o'clock at the NACTEC building off of Old Fort Road. So you just go right across from the fire station, go right up the hill. That's the NACTEC building. And we'll have our meeting with our legislators.
Is there any particular legislation you would like to see them present on behalf of the schools?
Funding. Looking at funding. I'm really looking at funding and the structures we have in place now, the governance. I mean, to have a separate school committee and to have a separate city council or town council, and then the school committees in Rhode Island have no authority over any kind of taxing, or they have to request all their funds from a town or city who already has the responsibility of overseeing their police, fire, public works, etc. I think it's really important that people start to take a hard look at that, either give the school committees taxing authority and let the voters decide what they want to fund on schools, or look at the entire structure and does it become part of a city government? So there is no us and them. We're all we. We work together. We are all one entity.
I've always been troubled by the legislation or the law that says you can't cut school budgets, but you can level fund them. Level funding a school budget is a decrease because all costs go up. Is that something that needs to be looked at?
That is correct. Yes, it's tied into the funding. Yes. I think I've even heard rumors, not necessarily here, that the cap, and I remember when Senator Piper Weed put this through, when we put the cap on how much a city or town can tax, which it makes perfect sense because for homeowners and people in the community, you can't tax people out. But at the same time, how can we do something that respects the process, gives people plenty of notice on what they're going to do? No one likes to hear at the last minute they have an increase in their billing or anything like that. So those are the things I think we really need to focus on and see what we can do. Maybe we need to think outside the box how we're funding public education.
Seems to be the time. I have a couple more questions, and I know we're running low on time. This memorandum of understanding, can you I read all these whereases. What does it mean?
Basically, it means that we're going to redo everything, and we're going to try as best as possible to work together. And we're going to keep in mind we need to make sure that we have the correct certified teachers, ML certified teachers. And if we need new ML certified teachers, those positions will be posted. And people will have the opportunity to bid on those and be emergency certified according to the MOU. This is all, I'm trying to understand it too. I was not part of these discussions, nor was my admin. So we're going through it right now, and we're trying our best to make sure we follow everything and we work together with our TAN leadership. And we'll see what happens, what unfolds. We're going to hope for the best.
A couple questions I had, you may or may not be able to answer. It seems to me in one part, it's saying that when jobs are posted, it's almost going to be retroactive to 2024.
Yes, that's the redo. And part of on the admin side, and this question was asked of me in the town hall meeting. Once the job process, which from the admin side, believed process was followed appropriately, and I've been saying all along, let's just let a third party decide. Let's agree to disagree, and go from there. And that did not happen. So in this agreement, that is going to happen. Everyone that got a job last year, we have to post those jobs again. And that's where my layoffs and everything else come into factor, along with our budget problem. It's not just that alone. It's with my budget problem.
The other provision that I'm trying to understand is one that seems to be geared towards just the TAN president, and if a job becomes open or reinstated, trying to find the exact provision here, that she has a first right of refusal for a period of up to 5 years. That seems quite unusual to me, and I'm trying to understand what precipitated that provision.
I was not present when this agreement was reached or written. I'm not the right person to answer that. The only thing I can say is I have never seen anyone's name in an MOU like that.
Yeah, and it's well, let me know the right person, and I will go ask them that question, because I'm an old union guy, and I've never seen anything like that either.
And I am too.
Frank, I have a question here from our friend Ida, who asks, I just want to make sure I don't miss it, but can we get the 8th graders into the building to walk the new building?
That is such a great idea. You know what? That wasn't even on our radar screen, and I love that one. We're trying to get all the Rogers High School students that are here on campus. All of them will have, and staff will have toured the building by March 1st. But I will definitely raise that, and I think that's a great idea for a field trip for the students to come over.
Coming from a former Newport school committee member, what else do you expect?
I remember. Great member.
I have 2 more quick questions. One of them actually is comes out of the police department, if you will, and the question, they mentioned that there are no community police officers or resource officers in the schools in Newport, and they're of course advocating for that. Why don't we have them, or or should we have them?
So I'm going to say the first answer, my answer to why don't we have them, the reason we do not have, I believe, designated SRO titles in our school building is budget, because it has to come out of the police department or it comes out of the school department. I think it comes out of police, but I don't want to be definite on that. No matter what, somebody has to find the funding. But the police department here in Newport has been wonderful in the sense that every day at the beginning of all our schools, we have police officers present to help us either with traffic, with the buses, just to start the day. Over here, Brittany Ripke, she's here for she has an office here, and she does a lot of her paperwork, and she's here in the mornings. So she's always here to assist when we need anything at our school. I know Tracy Westman, she's also always calling her contact. Frank Perry, I believe, is at the middle school. I can't remember the elementary one, but he's wonderful. Tracy just has to pick up the phone, and he's right there for us. So Newport Police do an excellent job as far as when we need them, they're there. And on a daily basis, they are, as best as possible, when they're available. They're always in our schools and there for our children and community. So I think the bottom line is it's just about funding. It's just about funding.
And my last question, and then I, of course, I want to entertain anything you want to mention. We've had over the last several days, we have had these raids in various parts of the country, particularly in the bigger cities, rounding up, if you will, supposedly violent, undocumented immigrants. The actual numbers are that 48% of those that were rounded up as of yesterday had no criminal activity. And then President Trump has relaxed the rules that prohibited the ICE from coming into schools or churches, into these sensitive places. So far, it's my understanding that there have been no raids into schools. And I've talked to school administrators in Connecticut and in Rhode Island. I've looked at Connecticut has put out a 2-page guidance memoranda to all its educators. So I've looked at all of them, and I don't want to go along because I think I just want to know if you have developed a policy, or if you have a policy, or if you have a plan, and what you can tell parents.
Sure. So the first thing I want to say is that our number one goal and priority in all our schools is to keep our children safe. We already have in place that we never release a child to anyone except a parent, family member, or someone on the emergency contact list. So all parents, all families, they need to know that. Because of FERPA, we are not allowed to talk to anyone about anything with these laws and rules. Now, with the changes that have come into effect, if a judicial warrant is served, we have already given instruction to our front desk, our front office people, to our building principals. They are to contact my office immediately, and we contact our attorney, and we will handle it from there. But parents need to know, first and foremost, every single day, just what our protocols we have in place now. We never release a child to anyone but a family member or someone on the emergency contact list. Again, because we are in a changing environment. And as of now, I have not heard in Rhode Island or around here, anyone visiting schools. That we already know, my leaders know, my principals know, that if someone does show up, that they are to contact me and my attorney immediately and let us handle it. The warrant that must be served to us is a judicial warrant. It must be signed by a federal judge. It cannot be something that comes out of the Office of ICE or anything like that. Those are the things we know from what we've been told from the Department of Ed. And the Department of Ed here in Rhode Island did issue yesterday, was it yesterday or very early this morning? I haven't read the entire document. They did share guidance for all schools. We have, and I have, in my Monday morning update to employees, and last night on the town hall, and I believe in today's newsletter that will go out, I have reassured that the training of all school personnel from day one, previous to any of this, is we never, ever, ever release children to anyone except a parent or family member or someone on the emergency contact list. And if something does happen and we do get served, we will immediately be contacting our attorney and we will handle it from there. So we do have something in place.
Is there anything you'd like to add this afternoon?
Well, just that school goes on. No matter what, whether it's a pandemic, new executive orders or whatnot, our school goes on. And we have some great events you're going to see in the newsletter. We've had some athletes that, again, girls have broken track records. We have one of our Thompson Middle School fifth graders won the Christmas card event. So we're very happy about that. We had an unbelievable, great concert last week with our chorus, orchestra, and band at Thompson Middle School. This Thursday at 6:30, the Rogers High School Band, under the direction of Richard Stanley, will be performing again at Thompson Middle School. We don't have any place at Rogers over here for them to perform, so they'll be at Thompson, the Rogers High School. We have our basketball games tonight. We have at Charahoe, we have our boys team. Wrestling is going on at Pilgrim High School. And on Thursday night, the girls will be playing at the Hut. That's the Martin Recreation Center. It's right behind the Newport Public Library, if you're unfamiliar where the Hut is. So the girls will be playing tomorrow night. Friday night, the boys will be back on the road and the hockey team will be on the road. So it's a very, very busy time of year. And we're excited, we're very excited. And Saturday morning, 9:00, we'll be meeting with our legislators, and we hope as many people as possible can come join us to hear what's going on and share their thoughts with our legislators about public education in the schools.
I'll be covering the legislative meeting, and I also want to make note that on the sports front, try to go through his text here quick. Our photographer, Justin Walker, will be covering Rogers track meet at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. So on Saturday afternoon, evening, look for coverage from that.
Good. That is great. School goes on. We don't miss a beat. And we have great students, great children. Our staff is doing a wonderful job, and we'll keep moving along one day at a time.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As always, very informative.
Okay. I hope.
There you go. We'll see you in February.
See you in February.
Thank you very much. That is Newport School Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain, who joins us here on the last Wednesday of every month. We want to thank her for joining us. If you missed any portion of this conversation, want to watch it again, want to share it, want to listen to it, want to read about it, all available on whatsupnewp.com. Thanks for watching.